guys, welcome back to another video. Thanks so much for the support and love on my first drive video of this RS3 back in Austria, and also thanks for all the views on the drag race video. It's definitely a very popular car, and for good reason. I've actually had this car just over a week, and it goes back to Audi UK in a few hours, so I thought this would be the best time to do my final video with the car after I spent that time with it and actually covered exactly 1,500 miles. I can't imagine there's too many owners or journalists, YouTubers that have managed to cover that many miles in the new RS3. A few days ago I popped into Audi UK to have the winter tyres taken off this, and they're replaced with Pirelli P0s. I'm probably the only person in the Northern Hemisphere to do a tyre swap that way around at the end of November. And as you can see, well, the weather isn't really playing ball today, but the sun has decided to come out. It's 7 degrees and quite slippery out there, but some would argue that is perfect weather for any Audi RS car, especially this new RS3. I'm really glad I did get the tyres changed though, because as I said in my first drive video, I was really interested to see what this car feels like on proper summer rubber. And let's face it, 98% of UK motorists use summer tyres all around because our climates aren't too extreme, and really there's only a few weeks in the year where winters are really going to be beneficial. What does it feel like with summers on it? Well, I mean, it's incredible. This car has got even better now that it has summer rubber on it. It really is amazing. That slightly vague turn-in that it had on winters, which I didn't really talk about because it wasn't fair, because I knew it was on winters and I was convinced that it would change. Well, that turn-in has completely transformed now that we have some proper supported summer rubber on there. It feels great when you turn it in, and the most important thing for me is now that I'm back here in the UK on our UK roads on sort of stiffer, let's call them summer tyres, well, that amazing ride quality has not been ruined or changed at all. It floats over the road surface. Okay, when you're in dynamic, it's a bit stiffer, and you'd probably not tend to use that on the majority of roads in the UK. Probably use that on tracks and stuff where it really needs maximum support. But when you're in RS Performance, which Audi have set up to do really well around the Nürburgring, which isn't the smoothest of tracks, it really does suit the UK road. So I've been driving around in RS Performance with everything switched off for the past few days, and it's amazing, really, really is. I haven't driven many cars, performance or otherwise, that handle our roads so well. As many of you know, I was very fortunate to take this on a runway a couple of days ago, and I could test out its acceleration figures properly with my race box on. The best 0 to 60 I managed was 3.4 seconds, which is 0.4 of a second under what Audi claim. And to be fair, none of the launches I got felt perfect, so I'm sure there's more in this car, which is just insane when you think about it. It also managed 11.9 something on the quarter mile, which again is just ridiculous. A hot hatch that will do the quarter mile in under 12 seconds. I mean, what has the world come to? So there's no denying that in a straight line and in terms of handling, as we just talked about, this car is absolutely epic. It really, really is, and puts up a good fight to anything out there of a similar price, or even cars that are 20, 30 grand more. And we'll compare it to some other cars that I've been asked to compare it to shortly. In the meantime, let's just enjoy this little switchback. So good on the brakes, as we talked about, those big 265 section tyres. Turn in, lovely. You can actually feel the back end getting a little bit light through there. And then as you come up there, I mean, it's just... I can't be driving an Audi. It doesn't make any sense to me. When you pick the throttle up, if you're in performance or dynamic, or if you're in the RS torque rear mode, I'm not the biggest fan of that particular mode, I must admit. It feels like it's just been set up and designed to make people feel like heroes on the road or on track. I think Audi say you should only use it on private land, but to me it feels like you suddenly lose a load of traction on the rear axle, and that's because that torque vectoring is working overtime to make the car feel like it has very little grip at the rear. To me, it just feels really unstable. So my favourite mode in terms of driving dynamics and on track would be dynamic with everything switched off, but on the road it is the RS performance mode with everything switched off. You still get that lovely balance mid-corner when you pick the throttle up. You can feel the rear end wanting to rotate, but it feels organic. It feels like it's actually drive rather than torque vectoring that is making the rear end slowly rotate. It's not snappy, it's a really nice progressive feel. So yeah, whatever they've done to this setup and this chassis and this four-wheel drive system, I think they've done a really, really good job. So it rides and handles really well, even back here in the UK. It's practical, it goes like stink, it makes a good sound. I mean, people are complaining about how expensive it is, and yes, cars in general are massively expensive now compared to 2, 3, 4 years ago, but that's just the way it is. And that's not Audi taking liberties, that's across the board. Things cost more to produce. I can only imagine how expensive chips, etc. are. And although yes, this starts at £54,000 now, to me, well, what else is there on the market for 50 odd grand that offers this much performance? Now we are going to compare it to BMW's incoming M240i xDrive shortly, but that's kind of a different car and sits in a slightly different segment to me. In terms of what this car is like for the money, I mean, yes, a Vorsprung at 61 grand is a lot of money, but this is a lot of car. 0 to 60 in under 3.5 seconds, 5 seats, comfortable. It just does everything so well, and at last, it's an RS car that really is exciting down one of your favourite roads. Like with everything I review on my channel, I wanted to point out the negatives with this brand new RS3, and there's really not many. The first one is the interior. It just doesn't feel special enough in here. I did talk about that in my first drive video, and after spending a week in here, it is lacking that RS feel. Sure, these seats are nice and comfortable, but they're no better than the seats in the S3, and there's really nothing else apart from this RS badge on the steering wheel that tells me I'm in an RS car. A lot of the rest of the world and other Audi climates get the option of the RS interior design package, I think that's what it's called, and that just gives you more Alcantara and a bit more fizz to the cabin, if you like. We don't get that option here in the UK, and I find that really confusing, especially if you were to go out and buy your Vorsprung model with the carbon ceramic brakes, etc. You're talking about a car that's going to retail at over £65,000, but yet you can't change the interior. This is the option you get, and it's just not special enough. Aside from the interior, which is going to be a big negative for some potential buyers, there really isn't much else. I can't even talk about this car's thirst, because at 70 odd miles an hour, well, it will average 36, 37 miles to the gallon all day long, and I think that's really, really impressive in a car that will do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. In my first drive video, I asked you lot for some ideas to talk about in this video, and I'm going to go through a few of them now. The first one is gearbox. What's the gearbox like? Because I haven't talked about that. It's a 7-speed dual clutch S-tronic gearbox, and let's face it, they're always a little bit hit and miss. They're either very good when you're pushing on and not so great as an automatic box, or vice versa. And I have to say, it still suffers a little bit as a normal auto, just like early DSG boxes did, but nothing that bad. It doesn't creep or roll too badly when you're doing maneuvers. It's just a bit slow when you are doing like a 3-point turn or something. But when you're pushing on, well, it's fantastic. It's so fast, and unlike in many, let's say, performance Golfs, when you're in manual and you're in third, if you put your foot on the floor, it stays in third. It doesn't shift down into second. And I wish that Volkswagen would do that with cars like their GTI and stuff. If I'm in manual, I want it to stay in manual. I want it to stay in fourth, even if I put my foot on the floor. And that's exactly what this does. So as a performance gearbox, it really is so good and so fast. The next point, and probably the most common question on my first drive video, is what is it like compared to BMW's incoming M240i xDrive? Well, first thing I need to point out is the fact that I literally spent about an hour and a half driving that M240i xDrive in Germany on beautiful roads. It's a 2-door coupe as well, so kind of a different package and car to this. And I think most importantly is this is a full RS product, so it should be compared to BMW's full M cars, so the incoming M2, whenever that will arrive. But if we are going to compare it vaguely to the M240i, well, that's 47 grand base and this is 54, but the BMW comes with more standard equipment, so you could probably compare it closer in terms of equipment to the Black Edition or the Carbon Edition. And that is 58.5 grand off memory. So there's a 10 or 11,000 pound price difference there, which you would expect because the M240 is an M Light, it's not an M car. And when you look at it in that respect, well, the M240 is really good value. And I know, again, people attack me in that video saying 46, 47 grand is too much for an M240i, but that's the way the market is. So long and short of it is, it's very hard for me to compare this to an M240i because realistically there's about a 10,000 pound price difference between the two, and I haven't spent enough time in the M240i or any time in that car on UK roads back here. The other comparison I've been asked about, which is a fairly obvious one, is comparing this to the AMG A45 S. Well, hopefully you've seen the drag race that I did recently, where this has proved that it is quicker, especially in a traditional drag race. It's slightly slower in gear. That 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine from AMG seems to pick up a lot better than this 2.5-litre 5-cylinder turbocharged unit. But in terms of outright pace, this has just got it. And I really think that in terms of handling and ride quality, this has got the edge on that car as well. It's a brilliant car, the A45 S, but I think this has just moved the game on a fraction more. Where the A45 S might be better in some people's opinion is the interior. It certainly looks more special. I really like the Merc infotainment system and that big sort of single or double screen they've got in front of you there. That works really well, and it definitely feels like it's a more special place to sit. But in terms of fit and finish, like I go on about a lot on my channel with recent Mercs, well, the plastics in there aren't particularly nice, but the plastics in here aren't much better. So they both have good arguments for themselves, but if it was me and if it was my money, it would go on this RS3. This is also available in a saloon, just like the A45 S's or the CLA 45S. The last topic or point from my first drive video we're going to talk about is people asking me to compare this to the very latest BMW M3 Competition xDrive. And I have to say off the bat, well, there's such a big price difference between the two. I think spec for spec you'd be looking at about £25,000, so really they're in completely different price categories. But if we had to compare them, well, the M3 Competition xDrive is on a different level in terms of actual performance. It's so fast, that car. It has a much better front end, and then if we're talking about quality of interior, feel good factor, well, again, the M3 interior to me is a lot nicer. It's a step above, and the optional carbon buckets, again, they're just unreal. Best seats in the business, and you can't get them in this car. Where the RS3 does shine compared to the current M3 Competition is that ride quality I was talking about. Although it's not as supported when you put it in dynamic, and it might feel a bit less at home when you do take it out on track compared to the M3, on your typical British A and B road, it does float around a lot nicer. And although, let's say, my M3 or the M3 xDrive is very good on UK roads now, and it's a lot plusher than the F Series, it's still a lot stiffer than this car, but that comes into its own when you take it out on track or you really start pushing that car. So although you can't really compare the two because they're not direct rivals, if you did, yeah, the M3 is still better in the majority of departments, but there's no shame on this RS3. Guys, thanks a lot for watching this video and the other RS3 videos that I've put out. I've really enjoyed my week with this car and the adventures that I've got up to and the 1,500 miles that I've had it, and I'm glad that I could take you along for most of those journeys. I will see you at another video very, very soon. Cheers. What a car.